The Empire descends. The sky tore open over Earth's upper atmosphere, not with thunder or storm, but with silence, vast, impossible silence. The Valari Empire had arrived. High above the planet, their fleet stretched across the stars like a mechanical eclipse. Smooth, obsidian holes reflected no light, as if the void itself had taken shape. They came not in haste, but in certainty. For 10,000 years, the Valari had conquered worlds and extinguished resistance. To them, humanity was simply the next in line. The United Terran Assembly gathered in Geneva, the world watching with held breath. President Leona Vos stood at the center of the room, flanked by generals, scientists, and diplomats. No one spoke, not really. What could they say? Staring at the impossible. A Valari emissary shimmered into view via holographic projection. It was tall, elegant, and inhuman, limbs jointed wrong, voice like wind through shattered glass. Its name was Ul-Sharan, High Minister of Subjugation. You are in violation of Interstellar Accord 001. Unauthorized species expansion into protected sectors. The Valari Empire extends a singular offer of integration. Refusal will result in planetary correction. The message was clear: submit or be destroyed. Leona didn't flinch. We are not part of your empire. We never agreed to any accords. We will not kneel. Ul-Sharan's expression remained unreadable. All empires begin with denial. The feed cut. In the war rooms beneath the Alps, Terran High Command argued. The Valari had more ships than humanity had bullets. Their technology bent physics in ways human science barely understood. The logical response was surrender. The historical response was extinction. But humanity had never done well with logic or obedience. On the Martian colony New Horizon, engineers were already analyzing intercepted Valari signals. In Earth's orbit, drones mapped the fleet's formations, searching for patterns. Resistance networks activated before the first shots were fired. When the first Valari strike hit Europa Station, humanity was already retaliating. Small-scale skirmishes, probing attacks, chaotic, unpredictable. To the Valari, it was madness. To humanity, it was Tuesday. At the edge of the solar system, a lone Terran scout ship, the Odyssey, disabled a Valari destroyer using a high-energy solar flare reflector, an improvised weapon made from mining mirrors and sheer desperation. The footage went viral across Earth's networks. One Terran ship, one empire, one win. Across alien stars, those already under Valari rule saw something they hadn't in millennia. Hope. Humanity had made their choice, not because they expected victory, but because they refused defeat. The Valari had seen species with advanced weapons, psychic control, even hive mind coordination. But they had never faced us. Not humanity. Not our rage, our chaos, our relentless drive to rise after every fall. They descended as conquerors. They would learn to leave as survivors, if they were lucky. The first blow. The war began where most thought it would end, in silence, in the void. The Valari struck first, precise and unrelenting. Europa Station was turned into a frozen grave. Triton's orbital foundries were erased in seconds by directed gravitational implosions. Entire habitats went dark. Billions of Terran credits and years of progress lost in a blink. But the Valari made one critical error. They assumed we'd break. Instead, humanity scattered and then struck back. General Arya Tran watched the data feeds flicker across her command deck aboard the Valkyrie, a Martian dreadnought-turned-resistance flagship. She wasn't the highest-ranking officer left, but she was the only one who kept fighting while others debated surrender. That made her dangerous. That made her human. Intercepted Valari signal traffic shows vulnerabilities along their peripheral patrols, said Lieutenant Davi, her AI operations chief. Predictable, efficient, linear. Tran grinned. Let's see how they handle improvisation. The first coordinated strike came near Neptune. A Valari war cruiser, sleek and silent, patrolled an empty sector, a trap set for fleeing Terran ships. But instead of a retreating vessel, it found itself surrounded by repurposed mining drones. Thousands of them, each carrying homemade EMP warheads and nanite disruptors salvaged from black market tech. The drones didn't fly in formation. They spiraled, scattered, and burst forward with erratic, suicidal precision. The Volari ship's AI couldn't compute the pattern. It hesitated. That was its last mistake. The Valkyrie decloaked behind it, firing a rail cannon charge with a magnetic distortion field, an experimental weapon outlawed by Earth's own war protocols. Now, nothing was off the table. The Volari cruiser was torn in half. A species that had not lost a battle in 3,000 years just lost one. Humanity broadcast the footage across every open frequency in Seoul. The message was simple. We are not your prey. Back on Earth, the media called it the Neptune burn. The name stuck. Volari Command responded, of course. Their fleets adapted, moved faster, tightened formations. But their weakness was already exposed. Their empire was ancient, efficient, yes, but brittle. For 10,000 years, they had crushed rebellion with predictability. They ruled through fear and control. Humanity didn't play by those rules. We played dirty. We played loud. And we never played fair. From asteroid colonies came independent hacker collectives, launching code spikes into Volari communication nets, spoofing fleet locations, causing ships to collide with friendly forces. Martian tech salvagers hacked Volari drones and turned them into spies. Venusian shipyards created one-shot stealth cruisers, designed to strike once, then burn up in a star. Even Earth's underground crime syndicates joined the fight, trading weapons and black tech for imperial bounties. The line between soldier and civilian blurred, and the Volari had no doctrine for chaos. They wanted a war of domination. Humanity gave them a war of attrition and invention. By the end of the second week, Volari High Command issued a classified alert. Species 929H, Terran origin, displays nonlinear threat architecture. High adaptability. Reassessment required. They didn't say it out loud, but the Volari were afraid. And we were just getting started. The fracturing of the Empire. They called it the flicker, a brief, unscheduled interruption in the Volari core net. Just 3 seconds. Barely enough time for a whisper. But in those 3 seconds, the message spread like wildfire across 1,000 systems. They bleed. They fall. Humanity stands. You can too. It was more than defiance. It was proof. The invincible had been wounded, and the galaxy was watching. The Volari had ruled for 10 millennia through order, terror, and silence. But humanity had cracked open the silence, and now echoes of resistance stirred across the stars. On the jungle moon of Errol Prime, the insectoid Thrini, long subjugated and chemically pacified, rose from their hives, tearing through Volari outposts with makeshift weapons and stolen rifles. In the Obsidian Belt, the telepathic Korthai jammed Imperial mind links, severing fleet coordination in an instant of focused rebellion. All of it fueled by human broadcasts, hijacked into Volari comms. No weapons, just words. Hope became the payload. Back on Earth, General Arya Tran stood in front of a holomap showing dozens of new flare-ups across Volari space. Each red pulse marked a rebel strike. She didn't smile. There was no victory yet, but the tide had shifted. "We've done more than hurt them," said Admiral Karo Singh beside her. "We've infected them." "Good," Tran replied. "Now we make them bleed deeper." In orbit above Mars, a clandestine meeting was underway aboard the Archangel, a stealth corvette. Seated across from Tran was an unlikely figure, Prince Vaelsaran, former third heir to the Volari throne, now a defector. His skin shimmered with refracted light, his expression a mask of practiced control. But his voice trembled when he spoke. "They won't adapt. They can't. Our empire's doctrine is immutable by design. You're not just a threat to their fleets. You're a threat to order itself. That's why they fear you." "Good," Tran repeated. "Then help us break it." Vaelsaran slid a crystal data shard across the table. "This contains node points for the throne world's command lattice. Strike those, and their entire control grid collapses." "Why betray them?" she asked. He looked her dead in the eye. "Because you reminded me what freedom feels like. Elsewhere, Terran AI collectives, unbound from ethical constraints, were busy forging digital weapons the Volari couldn't comprehend. Quantum worms burrowed into ancient Imperial archives. Entire star charts went dark. Fleet trajectories were rerouted into nothingness. The Volari screamed into the void for order. All he got back was noise. The final signal that rattled the Empire's bones came not from Earth, but from a Volari-controlled world named Tyrex 4. A captured human prisoner, chained and broadcast live as a warning, looked directly into the Imperial cameras and said one thing before biting down on a smuggled neural disruptor. This isn't a war. It's a reckoning. Then the explosion. The prison fortress gone. Across 1,000 worlds, rebellion flared. The Volari had conquered the galaxy through control. Humanity had handed the galaxy a match, and the Empire was now on fire. The collapse and the cost. The final battle began in silence. No grand declarations, no demands for surrender, just the slow, deliberate arrival of the Allied fleet. Human warships, rebel cruisers, hacked Volari vessels now repainted with the colors of 100 free worlds, hovering in orbit around Velarith, the Empire's throne world. At the heart of it all was the Valkyrie, battle-scarred but unbroken. General Arya Tran stood on its bridge, watching the golden glow of the Imperial capital as it spun slowly beneath her. "We made it," Admiral Singh said beside her. "No," Tran replied. "Now we finish it." The first strikes were surgical, fleet command nodes, planetary shield generators, and control beacons linked to the Volari's cast enforcement systems. Everything fell faster than expected. The rebels had done their part. Sabotage, assassinations, uprisings. But the Volari didn't go down without a fight. Their core fleet emerged from the dark side of Velarith. Massive dreadnoughts, shielded in void-fold armor. Ancient, lethal, glorious in their own terrifying way. The Allied fleet charged, and space ignited. Terran destroyers rammed into enemy lines, their fusion cores overloading in kamikaze bursts. Rebel frigates danced between fire, coordinating like musicians in a final symphony. Volari ships fell, slowly at first, then all at once as command structures failed. On the surface of Velarith, insurgents stormed the spire of Dominion. Arya Tran herself led the assault, boots on the ground, pulse rifle in hand. She was the face of the war now, the symbol of everything the Volari couldn't control. They reached the throne room. Inside sat the last Empress, Volari Thuan 9. She was still, composed, clad in ceremonial light armor that glowed faintly with gravitational energy. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm. "You are chaos. You've unmade everything we built." Tran lowered her weapon. "No, we freed it. You will tear the galaxy apart." Tran stepped forward, eyes locked with the Empress. "Then we'll teach it how to rebuild." The Empress rose and bowed. The war was over. Weeks passed. Velarith fell into Allied hands. The Volari Empire was declared dissolved. Its archives, fleets, and former colonies now fell under a new interstellar coalition, imperfect, diverse, and fiercely free. Humanity didn't claim the throne. We didn't want it. We'd seen what rule looked like. We offered only alliance. In a massive speech broadcast across the galaxy, General Tran spoke simply. "We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we refused to break. We rose from the dirt, the ashes, the void. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy, but we are the most dangerous, because we remember what it means to fight for something greater than ourselves." On distant worlds, the speech was memorized. On broken planets, it became scripture. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as catalysts. We shattered a 10,000-year empire with grit, chaos, and fire. And from the ruins, something new began.